I hope I am visible and audible to all of you. Yes. Uh, Dishita, hi. And who else is there? Okay, so I can see some people waiting here. And we did VA yesterday, verbal ability, a lot of questions from all the aspects of verbal ability, be it um, parajumbles or sentence completion, not sentence completion, odd one out, sentence elimination, in fact, and also para summaries. All that stuff we have done already. Good morning, everyone. So today is the RC day, and in RC, what I'll do, I'll be giving you, as you know, that 30 seconds for reading the questions first of all, 30 seconds each, and after that, I'll be giving you 4 minutes to read the RC, and then one by one, 1 minute again to 45 seconds again to solve all the questions. All right. Yes, Angit, that's right. So I'm going on. Just a moment. I'll just, okay, arrange my timer. 30 seconds for each of the questions. All right. So now I'm going invisible. Mudit, how many RCs are there? I think six RCs are there. So let's start it. All right. I'll go on. I'll go invisible now. The first question. आर्यन अभी ठीक कर देंगे. We'll do everything. 30 seconds for each of the questions. Hey, Avi. Next. Just read the questions. Okay, in 30 seconds each. Then I'll be giving you 4 minutes to read the entire RC. क्वेश्चन विजिबल नहीं है. क्वेश्चन नंबर विजिबल नहीं है. कोई बात नहीं, जो नीचे बोल्ड वाला है वो है. Okay, Arjun, don't worry. We'll be discussing all the questions one by one. I'll be also telling you the strategy and what exactly are the things that should be looked upon at. All right. Good morning, Sarth. So that's all for the first passage. Now I will be giving you 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So this is the kind of time frame that we should be looking at. So 30 seconds for each question just to read that. That takes up 2 minutes. Then 3:30 for this. That takes up 5:30, 5 minutes and 30 seconds. And then 45 seconds for each of the questions. Okay, that'll take it 3 minutes again. So in 8.5 minutes, you would have done with one RC. That is the speed that you should be following day after tomorrow. All right. So having said that, let's start the timer. Here we go. I'm going on mute. Yeah, and it's good. All right, I hope you guys are done with the reading the passage. Here we have the questions. Ipshita will talk regarding this about the marks fluctuation and all. I read your message. First line is the question, then other four lines are the. All right, I hope you guys are done with the reading the passage. Here we have the questions. Reading the passage. Ipshita will talk regarding this. Mark your answers. I'll give you 45 seconds for each of the questions. Option not visible. C. All right. Coming to second question. The first line is the question. The other four lines are the options. Okay. Next one. The last question is here. I think it's visible on the laptop. If you're watching from the mobile phone, it won't be visible. Hey, Swastika. Because I have my screen open. In other screen, I can see it's clearly visible. On the laptop, if you're watching. All right. Time up. That is the ideal time, like 8.5 minutes that you should be doing a question. Okay. Maximum 10 minutes, not more than that, for a reading comprehension passage. So here we go. So now my strategy is to, first of all, I'll look at the questions. Okay. And the certain questions for which I read the options, for others I don't. First question is about, from the passage we can infer that the author is in favor of language shift across languages, cultural homogenization, an expanded state role in the preservation of languages, greater multilingualism. Okay, there are four different options. Let's see. Now, the author lists all of the following as reasons for decline of disappearance of a language. Decline or disappearance of a language, except. So I don't need to read these options, right? Because once I read the passage, I'll come to it. The author mentions the Welsh language to show that efforts to integrate Welsh speakers in the English-speaking fold have been fruitless. Okay, the efforts were fruitless, futile. While often pilloried, globalization can in fact support linguistic revival. Languages can revive even after their speakers have gone through a language shift. Vulnerable languages can rebound with state effort. All right. Which of the following about indigenous languages from the passage? Uh, okay, we can infer everything except one. So for this also, I don't need to read the options. Let me go to the passage directly and let's see which all we can answer. Okay, cool. So it's easy to forget that most of the world's languages are still transmitted orally with no widely established written form. While speech communities are increasingly involved in projects to protect their languages in print, on air, and online, orality is fragile and contributes to linguistic vulnerability. But indigenous languages are about much more than unusual words and intriguing grammar. They function as vehicles for the transmission of cultural traditions, environmental understandings, and knowledge about medicinal plants, all at risk while elders die and livelihoods are disrupted. Okay, so even if there is no written format of a language, as long as it's spoken, still it is very much important because that is about understanding of everything: culture, environment, science, medicine, etc. Both push and pull factors lead to the decline of languages. Through war, famine, natural disasters, whole communities can be destroyed, taking their language with them to the grave, such as the indigenous populations of Tasmania, who were wiped out by colonists. More commonly, speakers live on but abandon their language in favor of another vernacular, a widespread process that linguists refer to as language shift. So that is a possibility, right? कि ऐसा होता है ना, इंडिया में कवर हो रहा है, इंडिया में लोग हिंदी तो भूल रहे हैं, इंग्लिश सीखने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, चाइना में बहुत ज़्यादा हो रहा है, from which few languages are immune. Such trading up and out of a speech form occurs for a complex political, cultural, and economic reasons, sometimes voluntary for economic and education reasons, although often amplified by state coercion or neglect. Welsh, long stigmatized as disparaged by the British state, has rebounded with vigor. Okay, now Welsh, I think we can answer the question right. We can answer one question. Which one? About the Welsh, isn't it? So if you look at not this, not this, this, the author mentions Welsh to show what? To show what? So can we answer this? If not now, let me read the next paragraph about this. Many speakers of endangered, poorly documented languages have embraced new digital media excitement. तो वेल्श के बारे में और कहीं बात की नहीं गई है, जो बात की गई यहीं पे की गई है. तो वेल्श जो है वो it has rebounded with vigor. Why? See, because it says some few languages are immune. Such trading up and out of a speech form occurs for complex political, cultural, and economic reasons. Okay, so here we can probably answer the question. तो इससे क्या हुआ है कि अगर मान लो लैंग्वेज शिफ्ट हो भी गया, बहुत से लोग खत्म भी हो गए, उसके बाद भी कुछ लैंग्वेजेस आर इम्यून टू इट, so they can jump back, they can bounce back. Which option captures it correctly? Languages can revive even after speakers have gone through a language shift. This looks correct to me. ये क्या था? Integrate Welsh speakers that is out of context. While often pilloryed, globalization can in fact again out of context, vulnerable languages can rebound with state effort. This might be true, but the point that it is mentioned is C only. So that is a kind of I will say an easy question. Okay, let's go to next one. Many speakers of endangered, poorly documented languages have embraced new digital media's excitement. Speakers of previously exclusively oral chunks are turning to the web to the web, matlab internet, as a virtual space for languages to live on. Internet technology offers powerful ways for oral traditions and cultural practices to survive, even thrive among increasingly mobile communities. I have watched as videos of traditional wedding ceremonies and songs are recorded on smartphones in London by Nepali migrants, then uploaded on YouTube and watched an hour later by relatives in remote Himalayan villages. So, you know what? Because of internet, what has happened, even if somehow we are, let's say, living in some other community where our language is not being spoken, but in our traditions, marriage, childbirth, whatever, we kind of play those songs or maybe speak those languages in some traditions which we upload on internet, so some people at least watch it. So that is how internet has kind of revived the languages. Internet is not letting it die. Clear? Globalization is regularly and often uncritically pilloried as major threat to linguistic diversity, but in fact globalization is as much process as it is ideology. Certainly, when it comes to language, the real forces behind cultural homogenization are unbending beliefs exchanged through a globalized delivery system, reinforced by the historical monolingualism prevalent in much of the West. मोनोलिंगुअलिज्म, इंग्लिश की बात हो रही है, ठीक है। Monolingualism, the condition of being able to speak only one language, is regularly accompanied by deep-seated conviction is the value of that language over all others. Across the largest economies that make up the G8, being monolingual is still be often the norm, with multilingualism appearing unusual and even somewhat exotic. याद है तुमने सुना था कि पहली बार यूएन में हिंदी में भाषण दिया था अ, हमारे पूर्व प्रधानमंत्री अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जी ने, right? So it was exotic. It's still a GK question. Who was the first person to give a Hindi speech in UN? The answer is Atal Bihari Vajpayee. So, right. So it is exotic. The monolingual mindset stands in sharp contrast to the lived reality of the most of the world, which throughout its history has been more multilingual than unilingual. Monolingualism, then not globalization, should be our primary concern. Okay, so concern should be monolingualism, not globalization. Multilingualism can help us live in a more connected and more interdependent world. By widening access to technology, globalization can support indigenous and scholarly communities engaged in documenting and protecting our shared linguistic heritage. For the last 5,000 years, the rise and fall of languages was intimately tied to the plow, sword, and book. In a digital age, the keyboard, screen, and web will play a decisive role in shaping the future linguistic diversity of our species. ठीक है, तो पहले क्या था, प्लो स्वord एंड बुक, मतलब क्या है, पढ़ाई, स्वord लड़ाई, ये क्या है, खेती बाड़ी, प्लो, सो ये सब था पहले, बट अब क्या है कि अब इट इज कीबोर्ड, डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी. ओके, सो लेट्स ट्राई टू आंसर द क्वेश्चंस वन बाय वन. From the passage we can infer that author is in favor of what? So there will be four options in which author will be in favor of one but not the others. इतना पढ़ने के बाद हमें क्या क्या मालूम पड़ चुके देखते हैं. पहला है लैंग्वेज शिफ्ट अक्रॉस लैंग्वेजेस. Is he in favor of it? Not really, because he says languages should survive. Should survive. Cultural homogenization, by this, probably it will be multilingual, so culture should be diverse. Author doesn't support that. Expanded state role in preservation of languages, maybe. Greater multilingualism, exactly. So author wants that there should be multilingualism. That is the only way will be more interdependent societies can thrive and languages can survive. Clear? It's clearly mentioned in the last paragraph. Coming to next, the author lists all of the following reasons for the decline or disappearance, except what? ठीक है. The focus on only a few languages as a result of widespread internet use. Author ने बात नहीं बोली है, यही सही लग रहा है मेरे को. आगे क्या है, गवर्नमेंट्स promoting certain languages over others, people shifting away from their own language, catastrophic event entirely eliminates. सब कुछ बोला गया है, बस पहला नहीं बोला. That's correct. So A is the option here. A is correct. Sarth has marked P. Why Sarth? ए बहुत क्लियरली है ना, यहाँ पे बहुत क्लियरली मेंशन्ड है. देखो, जो बी वाला गलत क्यों है बताता हूँ मैं तुम्हें. यहाँ पे एक वॉर फेमाइन वाली बात की गई थी. रिमेंबर दैट? वेयर इज इट? थ्रू वॉर फेमाइन नेचुरल डिजास्टर्स होल communities can be destroyed, taking their language with them to the grave. Indigenous population of Tasmania out by colonists. Speakers live on but abandon their language in favor of other vernacular. Widespread process that linguists refer to as language shift, from which few languages are immune. Such trading up, देखो यहाँ पे political, cultural, economic reasons, sometimes voluntary for economic, educational reasons. So basically, this is, in a way, trying to hint towards government promoting certain languages over others. है ना? Okay, sir. So this is clearly mentioned, not clearly, but somehow mentioned. अगर अगर एजुकेशनल इकोनॉमिक रीजंस होंगे, है ना, जाहिर सी बात है कि इसमें गवर्नमेंट का हाथ होगा. और अगर क्लियर न मालूम नहीं पड़ रहा, तो ए तो क्लियरली मेंशन है ना, कि ए जो है वो क्लियरली है कि यही मेंशन नहीं है कि इंटरनेट से ऐसा नहीं है कि कुछ ही लैंग्वेजेस पे फोकस है. हर लैंग्वेज सर्वाइव कर सकती है. इवन नेपाली, एग्जाम्पल नेपाली लैंग्वेज दिया था, जो कि बहुत छोटी कम्युनिटी है. ओके. ना ये तो हो चुका है. लास्ट, we can infer We can infer all of the following except about indigenous languages. पहला, their vocabulary, grammatical constructs have been challenging to document. ये कहीं लिखा ही नहीं है यार, यही लग रहा है मेरे को सही। आगे पढ़ने की जरूरत ही नहीं है, मैं तो आगे ना पढ़ता, पर चलो पढ़ लेते हैं, पर ये एलिमिनेट करने के लिए। दे आर रिपोजिटरीज ऑफ ट्रेडिशनल नॉलेज अबाउट, ये बोला गया है, बिल्कुल क्लियरली बोला गया है, शुरुआत में बोल दिया गया पहली लाइन में। दिस कैन नॉट बी ट्रू। पीपल आर इंक्रीजिंगली वर्किंग ऑन डॉक्यूमेंटिंग दिस लैंग्वेजेस, यस दे आर। दे इन डेंजर ऑफ बीइंग वाइप्ड आउट, बिल्कुल सही बात है, पहला ही है। दिस वाज एन इजी क्वेश्चन, आई वुड से दिस इज एन इजी पैसेज। व्हाट डू यू गाइस थिंक? Easy. Correct sequences: D, A, C, A. D, A, C, A. D, A, C, A. कितने लोगों ने सही किया है? टेल मी, बी क्विक। स्वस्तिका, हैव यू डन एवरीथिंग राइट? अपना प्रयास, गुड मॉर्निंग। 2021 का है दर्शन। चलो कोई बात नहीं। Here, so I'll show you every question for 30 seconds. Here we go. Read the questions. Thirty seconds up. Next one. Next. 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 हो गया. Now the time for passage starts here. Okay, you'll get 3.5 minutes for this. We'll move to questions in next 10 seconds. Here we go. Next. 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 जो हो गया. All right. Was this difficult? Last passage was, I think, easy to moderate. This one, what do you think? What are your answers? Anybody needs to see any question once? No? Okay. Keeping time accurately comes with a price. The maximum accuracy of a clock is directly related to how much disorder or entropy it creates every time it ticks. Medallia Harris at the okay. अब ये important है कि नहीं पता नहीं, क्वेश्चन पढ़ लेते हैं. Purpose of this example, we'll read the example, get to know. Author makes all of the following arguments passage except that. Okay, we'll read the passage, get to know. Which of the one of the following sets of words phrases serve best as keywords of the passage? We'll read the passage, get to know. Don't know need to read the options. None of the following statements can be inferred from the passage except that. ये सारे क्वेश्चन ऐसे जहां पे कोई भी ऑप्शन पढ़ने का कोई फायदा नहीं है. ठीक है ना? इजी है, चलो तो आंसर से मालूम पड़ेगा कि इजी है कि नहीं है ना. आंसर तो बताओ. दशरथ आंसर बोलो, ऐसे नहीं होता है इजी. आंसर बोलो. आंसर कोई नहीं बोल रहा है ना. बस इजी से बोल दो. चलो शुरू करते हैं. ओके. कोई भी क्वेश्चन पढ़ने का फायदा नहीं है. ये इट्स अ बिट लाइक फ्यूल यूज इन अ कार, ये एग्जांपल हमें ध्यान देना है. ठीक है ना? Bit like fuel use in the car. Just because I'm using more fuel doesn't mean that I'm going faster or further. Purpose of this example, ये चीज पूछनी है, देखनी है. यहाँ पता नहीं क्या है, ये भी नहीं पता क्या है, ये भी नहीं पता क्या है, कुछ भी क्वेश्चन देके फायदा हो नहीं रहा। ठीक है, तो इन क्वेश्चन में 30 सेकंड लगाने नहीं थे, 10 सेकंड ईच। चलो शुरू करते हैं। Made this discovery using tiny clock with an accuracy that can be controlled. Accuracy that can be controlled. Clock consists of a this. I don't think this is important, right? कि क्लॉक में क्या क्या है, अगर ये इंपॉर्टेंट हुआ, क्वेश्चन में पता नहीं है क्वेश्चन में कि क्या ऑथर क्या इम्प्लाई कर रहा है वगैरह वगैरह, इंपॉर्टेंट, आई विल कम बैक टू इट, विल से व्हाट डू यू अंडरस्टैंड, व्हाट आर द केसेस इन विच यू कैन स्किप सर्टेन थिंग्स, इनमें क्या क्या ऑप्शन है, आई डोंट नो, अगर ऑप्शन ऐसे होंगे जो जरूरी होगा तो मैं पढ़ूंगा वहां वापस जाऊंगा, अदरवाइज नहीं जाऊंगा। डू यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट? ठीक है, ये बताया क्लॉक कैसे बनी है, जैसे मेम्ब्रेन है ना, सिलिकॉन नाइट्राइड की इलेक्ट्रिक करंट से वाइब्रेट हो रहा है, मेम्ब्रेन मूव अप एंड डाउन, रिटर्न टू ओरिजिनल पोजीशन, इसको हम एक टिक मान लेंगे, ठीक है। Regulative spacing between ticks represent accuracy of the clock. Researchers found that they increase the clock's accuracy, heat produced in system grew, increasing entropy of its surroundings. If a clock is more accurate, you are paying for it somehow, says Harris. In this case, you paid for it by pouring more ordered energy into the clock, ये important है, which is then converted into entropy. By measuring time, we are increasing the entropy of the universe, says Harris. The more entropy there is in the universe, the closer it may be to its eventual demise. Maybe we should stop measuring time, says Harris. The scale of additional entropy is so small that there is no need to worry about its effects, she says. ठीक है, अच्छा, एग्जाम्पल आ गया? नहीं आया अभी, ठीक है आगे बढ़ते हैं। The increase in entropy in timekeeping may be related to the arrow of time, says Marcus Huber at the Austrian Academy of Sciences in Vienna, who was part, ठीक है। It's been suggested that the research reason that time only flows forward, not in reverse, is that the total amount of entropy in the universe is constantly increasing, creating disorder that cannot be put in order again. ठीक है, relationship is a limit on the accuracy of the clock. It doesn't mean that clock creates the most possible entropy, would be maximally inaccurate. Hence, a large, inefficient grandfather clock isn't more precise than an atomic clock. It's a bit like fuel use in a car. Just because I'm using more fuel doesn't mean that I'm going faster or further, says Huber. ठीक है, देखते हैं ये क्यों यूज किया गया कि when entropy is increased entropy doesn't guarantee increased accuracy. Do you understand that? The increased entropy doesn't imply increased accuracy. That is what we should be looking at. पहला बोल रहा है if you go faster in a car you will tend to consume more fuel, but the converse is not necessarily true. The same way increased entropy does not, अरे हो गया बस, पहला ही है, मैं आगे पढ़ूंगा ही नहीं, मुझे पढ़ना चाहिए, नहीं पढ़ना चाहिए मुझे लगता है, जल्दी से पढ़ लेता हूँ। फर्दर यू गो इन अ कार मोर फ्यूल यू यूज, सेम वे फास्टर यू गो इन अ कार लेस टाइम यू यूज, बेकार की बात है। स्पीड और टाइम का डिस्टेंस का यहाँ पर रिलेशन नहीं पूछा गया। मेजर स्पीड ऑफ अ कार ग्रैंडफादर क्लॉक रिजल्ट विल डिफरेंट, ये रीजन नहीं था। फादर एंड फास्टर यू गो इन अ कार ग्रेटर अमाउंट ऑफ फ्यूल यू यूज, ठीक है सही बात है, ग्रेटर द एंट्रोपी, ये बात भी सही है, बट इसका रीजन ये नहीं था, रीजन ये है कि इसका कन्वर्स ट्रू नहीं होता। सो आई थिंक कितने लोगों ने ए किया था? How much RCs will you cover in this passage? Ashish, you mean to say in this session? 6 RCs. When the researchers compared the results with theoretical models developed for clocks that rely on quantum effects, they were surprised to find that relationship between accuracy and entropy seemed to be the same for both. We can't be sure yet that these results are actually universal, though barely, because there are many types of clocks for which relationship between accuracy and entropy haven't been tested. It's still unclear how this principle plays out in real devices as atomic clocks, which push the ultimate quantum limits of accuracy. अच्छा ठीक है, मतलब एटॉमिक क्लॉक्स में एकदम क्लियर एक्यूरेसी होती है, says Mark Mitchison at Trinity College Dublin in Ireland. Understanding this relationship could be helpful for designing clocks in the future, particularly those used in quantum computers, other devices where both accuracy, temperature, and crucial, says Harris. This finding could also help us understand more generally how the quantum world and the classical world are similar and different in terms of thermodynamics and the passage of time. ठीक है, चलो देखते हैं. Author makes all of the following arguments except what. पहला बोल रहा है कि रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन एक्यूरेसी एंड एंट्रोपी में नॉट अप्लाई टू ऑल क्लॉक्स. ये ऑथर ने बोला है, तो ये एलिमिनेट हो गया. हमें पूछना है कौन सा नहीं हुआ. इज दैट क्लियर? ये क्लियरली बोला है ऑथर ने कि एक्यूरेसी और एंट्रोपी हर क्लॉक पे नहीं. टेस्ट हुआ ही नहीं है. लास्ट पैराग्राफ में इसका हिंट था. सेकंड, researchers found that the heat produced in a system is the price paid for increased accuracy of measurement. अच्छा. थ्री बोला there is no difference in accuracy between an inefficient grandfather clock and an atomic clock. क्या बोला गया है यहाँ पे? ये बोला गया है ना? ये बोला गया कि नहीं बोला गया? देखो, relationship is a limit on the accuracy of clock. It does not mean that a clock that creates the most possible entropy would be maximally accurate. Hence, a large inefficient grandfather clock isn't more precise than an atomic clock. Okay, this has been mentioned. In designing clocks for quantum computers, both precision and heat wave to be taken into account. ये बात एंड में बोली गई है कि भाई जहाँ पे accuracy and temperature both are crucial. So basically, it's the second one that has not been outrightly mentioned. It can be somehow implied, but it is not outrightly mentioned as an argument. Clear? B is the answer. Next. Next बोल रहा है कि which of the following sets of words and phrases serve best as keywords of the passage. ये flow of passage वाला क्वेश्चन है. देखते हैं. Electric current, heat, quantum effects, silicon nitride, energy, grandfather clock, measuring time, accuracy, entropy, membrane, arrow of time, entropy. Obviously C है. मेन तो यहाँ measuring time ही है. फिर accuracy के ऊपर entropy बात होगी. These are the keywords. Exact. It's not a flow. It's not even the flow. The keywords, main idea. It's time, accuracy, entropy. I don't think anything is needed for this. Next. None of the following can be inferred from the passage except. क्या इन्फर किया जा सकता है ये पूछ रहा है यहाँ पे. Okay, let's read one by one because everything is important. Every option needs to be read. Arrow of time has not yet been tested for atomic clocks. क्या बात इन्फर किया सकती है? Yes. बोला है ना हर क्लॉक पे नहीं किया गया अभी. Quantum computers are likely to produce more heat and hence more entropy because of the emphasis on their clock's accuracy. That is a possibility. है ना, यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है. हमने किया नहीं है पर हो सकता है ऐसा हो जाए. Grandfather clocks are likely to produce less heat and hence less entropy. Because they're not as accurate. A clock with a 50 nanometer thick membrane of silicon nitride has been made to vibrate, producing electric currents. ये तो बोला गया है, शुरुआत में लिखा हुआ है ना. जिसको मैंने बोला था कि इसको नहीं पढ़ रहा मैं ध्यान से, वही चीज़ यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन में है. क्लॉक बनाया था 50 नैनोमीटर थी मेम्ब्रेन की, उसी की बात की जा रही है. सो दिस कैन बी करेक्टली इन्फर्ड, रेस्ट कैन नॉट बी इन्फर्ड. मतलब ये हो भी सकता है, नहीं भी सकता. तो क्लियरली इन्फर नहीं कर पा रहे. नेट नॉट येट बीन टेस्टेड. हमें पता नहीं है. बोला बहुत से क्लॉक्स पे टेस्टेड नहीं, यहाँ पे भी टेस्ट हुआ है कि नहीं हुआ. वी कैन somehow kind of think it's true, but A is something, D is something that has been clearly mentioned, so we'll go for that. Clear? अच्छा, एक बात और. कुछ लोग सोचते हैं कि जो चीज़ डायरेक्टली मेंशन्ड नहीं है वो इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं होती. ऐसा सोचते हैं लोग. अगर आप सोचते हो गलत सोचते हो. कोई चीज़, I'll tell you something. If there are four options and three look correct to you and one inference ki what can be inferred, one option that is directly mentioned in the passage, other three can be derived. अरे एक मिनट सॉरी मैंने उल्टा कर दिया यार. इसमें एक गड़बड़ है. मेड टू वायर प्रोड्यूसिंग इलेक्ट्रिक करंट्स, ये बात नहीं थी ना. ये नहीं है, गलत है. आई एम सो सॉरी. This is true. The first part is true. Producing electric currents is false. So no, है ना? Was using electric currents can be inferred बोला गया है. ठीक है, ठीक है, ठीक है, ठीक है. I'm so sorry. Grandfather clocks are यहाँ पे can be inferred है. Okay. Are likely to produce less heat and hence less entropy because they are not as accurate. Less heat नहीं, वो तो more heat करेगा ना, तो ये भी eliminate हो गया. Quantum computers are likely to produce more heat and hence more entropy because of the emphasis on the clock's accuracy. Particularly those used in quantum computers and other devices where both accuracy and temperature are crucial. ओके, मोर एक्यूरेसी ज़्यादा, हाँ, तो ये है कि अगर एक्यूरेसी बढ़ेगी तो ऑब्वियसली हीट ज़्यादा जनरेट होगी. सो आई कैन इन्फर टू. First arrow of time has not yet been tested for atomic clocks. Is it clear? Is it mentioned? It says we can't be sure yet that these results are actually universal, though, because there are many types of clocks for which relationship between this have not been tested. It's still unclear how this principle plays out in real devices as atomic clocks, which push the ultimate quantum limits of accuracy. All right. A and B. There's a confusion. In A and B, there is confusion, isn't it? What can be true? Let's think again. ठीक है, चलो, बी ही सही है. ऑप्शन बी. I'll tell you why. Because it says the arrow of time has not been yet tested. यहाँ पे बोल रहे हैं कि arrow of time, arrow of time specifically. See, what is arrow of time? The time only flows forward, not in reverse. That is, total amount of energy in the universe is constantly increasing. This thing specifically has not been tested. Probably there has been test done where which talks about the principle of relationship between accuracy and entropy. That might have been tested, but that's not actually arrow of time. So arrow of time is the keyword here, which gives you enough reason to eliminate option one. We'll go for option B. That is true. यहाँ are crucial लिखा हुआ है, तो likely to produce more heat. Option B. B is correct. Is that clear? Arrow of time is the keyword through which we can eliminate option A. Probably you guys did not think much about arrow of time. You just thought about atomic clocks. So that was a trap option in which you fell. So some of you fell, not everyone. Got it? Let's go to next one. अब मैं टाइम ऐसा करूंगा कि मैं ना ये पूरा टाइम 8 मिनट कर देता हूँ. इसी 8 मिनट सब कुछ करना है आप लोग को. समझ में आई बात? 30 seconds each, Kshitij, yes, you are 30 seconds each for reading the questions, which makes 2 minutes. And if a question doesn't require reading the options, I'll just, kind of move the slide. And 3 to 4 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes for this thing, reading the passage, and then 45 seconds each for answering the question. सार्थ करना तो चाहिए, बट ऐसा ना हो कि वो करने चक्कर में तुम मेन चीज ना कर पाओ. तो मैं तुम्हें प्रिपेयर कर रहा हूँ कि ऐसा हो जाए. अगर इसी फ्लो में चले गए तो क्या पता ऐसा ही करने लगो. चलो, हियर वी गो. There are six passages. We are on third. रिश्ता मैं तुम्हारा चेक नहीं किया, पहले ये सॉल्व कर लो, देखता हूँ मैं वो। तुम्हारा मैसेज नहीं देखा मैंने, सॉरी। Kshitij, obviously, every passage is independent of other. Just do this one. You're at the right time. The fourth passage, start from here. Not a problem. You should not read the option to this passage. Okay. So let's go to the exact passage now. हाँ क्षितिज, कोई बात नहीं, करो फिर भी। Let's go to the questions now. Next, 45 seconds for each question. That is the time limit. Next. All right. Any question you want to see again? Okay, let me explain. First question says all of the following, if true, can weaken the passage's claim that facts do not speak for themselves except. If true, can weaken except. That means we talk about strengthening. Is that clear? So two negatives make a positive. इनमें से कौन सही है जो वीकन करेगा एक्सेप्ट मतलब हमें ढूंढना हुआ है जो स्ट्रेंथन कर रहा है इज दैट क्लियर दिस इज हाउ यू कैन गेट कंफ्यूज्ड एंड बाय नाउ आई डोंट थिंक एनीबडी is confused in these kind of statements. If the author of the passage were to write a book on the Battle of Hastings along the lines of his or her own reasoning, the focus of historical account would be deriving historical facts from the relevant documents and inspirations, providing a nuanced interpretation by relying on auxiliary sciences, exploring socio-political and economic factors that led to the battle, producing a detailed timeline various events that led to the battle. So depend करता है ये author लिखता है लिखती कैसे है उस पर depend करेगा. Derive, provide, explore, produce. Okay. Derive, provide, explore, produce. Cool. According to the passage, which one of the following statements best describes significance of archaeology for historians? Archaeology helps historians to carry out their primary duty, interpret historical facts, ascertain factual accuracy, to locate the oldest civilizations in history. ठीक है. All of the following describe common sense view of history except. History is like science, selective system of cognitive orientations to reality. Only the positivist methods can lead to credible historical knowledge. History can be objective like the sciences. It is derived from historical facts. Real history can be found in ancient engravings and archival documents. Okay, chalo, let's see. The positivists, anxious to stake out the claim for history as a science, contributed the weight of their influence to the cult of facts. You know what? Who are positivists? People who think that all the knowledge is true if it is derived. Knowledge that is true, a knowledge can only be true if it is derived from scientific observations. They are positivists. How many of you are positivists? Just wait for a while. Just a minute. So, who is the positivist here? Anyone? First, ascertain the facts, set the positivist, then draw your conclusions from them. This is what may be called the common sense view of history. History consists of a corpus of ascertained facts. The facts are available to the historian documents, inscriptions, and so on. So George Clark contrasted the hardcore of facts in history with the surrounding pulp of disputable interpretation, forgetting that perhaps the pulpy part of the fruit is more rewarding than the hardcore. Okay. It recalls the favorite dictum of the great liberal journalist C.P. Scott: facts are sacred, opinion is free. Okay. What is a historical fact? According to common sense view, इस पे question है. There are certain basic facts that are which are the same for all historians and which form, so to speak, the backbone of history. The fact, for example, that the Battle of Hastings was fought in 1066, but this view calls for two observations. Two observations. In the first place, it is not with facts like these that the historian is primarily concerned. It is no doubt important to know that the great battle was fought in 1066 and not in 1065, 1067, but it is fought at Hastings and not at Eastbourne or Brighton. The historian must not get these things wrong. But to praise a historian for his accuracy is like praising an architect for using well-seasoned timber or property mixed with concrete. बहुत सारे इसके अंदर वो हैं, analogies हैं, examples हैं. It is necessary condition of his work, but not his essential function. It is precisely for matters to of this kind that the historian is entitled to rely on what have been called the auxiliary sciences of history, archaeology, epigraphy, numismatics, chronology, and so forth. तो numismatics क्या होता है? Collection of stamps. Stamps या coins? क्या होता है numismatics? The second observation is that the necessity to establish these basic facts rests not on any quality in the facts themselves, but on a prior decision of the historian. In spite of C.P. Scott's motto, every journalist knows today that the most effective way to influence opinion is the selection and rearrangement of the appropriate facts. It used to be said that facts speak for themselves. This is, of course, untrue. The facts speak only when the historian calls on them. It is he who decides to which facts to give the floor and in what order or context. The only reason why we're interested to know that the battle was fought at Hastings in 1066 is historians regard it as a major historical event. Exactly. Exactly. We don't care about when it was fought, where it was fought. How does it matter to us? Just that historian wanted it to give some significance. Professor Talcott Parsons once called science a selective system of cognitive orientations to reality. It might perhaps have been put more simply, but history is, among other things, that. The historian is necessarily selective. The belief in a hardcore of history, historical facts existing objectively and independently of the interpretation of the historian is a preposterous fallacy, but one which it is very hard to eradicate. ठीक है. मतलब वही है कि जो भी फैक्ट हमें हिस्ट्री में बताया जा रहा है जरूरी नहीं कि वो एकदम सच हो. हिस्टोरियन के हिसाब से अगर उसको सच लग रहा है तो हमें भी सच लगेगा. दैट इज व्हाट द पैसेज कन्वेज इन द एंड. ऑलराइट, इज दैट क्लियर? इज दैट क्लियर? So ultimately, if I try to kind of make a mental map of it, positivists are the people who wanted to kind of establish history as science, because in history also there are certain things which are based on observations and common sense observations, and facts are there. They can be documents, inscriptions. So based on that, it can be a science, right? Moreover, moreover, the thing is that it not always is the quality of facts, but it's also at how the historian looks at it and what he or she believes in. We will be believing the same thing, right? That is the last line. So let us look at the questions now. The first one says, all of the following, if true, can weaken the passage's claim that facts do not speak for themselves except. So basically, we need to look at the option that is strengthening. देखते हैं. First says the truth value of a fact is independent of the historian who has. बिल्कुल गलत बात है. इस बात को मैं 2-3 बार बोल चुका हूँ. गौरव, अच्छा ठीक है, समझ गए लास्ट 2 लाइन्स. आई थिंक यू काइंड ऑफ अंडरस्टूड दैट. See, the thing is that if we, okay, इसका मतलब ये है कि if we think that facts are independent of historian's perspective, then it's a fallacy. ये बात मानना गलत होगी कि जो हिस्टोरियन जो फैक्ट है वो हिस्टोरियन के ओपिनियन के हिसाब से इंडिपेंडेंट है, ये मान लेना सबसे बड़ी भूल होगी। इसका ये मतलब है सिंपल भाषा में, और वही बात यहाँ लिखी हुई है। बी, फैक्ट्स लाइक ट्रूथ कैन बी रिलेटिव, व्हाट इज फैक्ट फॉर पर्सन एक्स मे नॉट बी सो फॉर पर्सन वाई। यही से लग रहा है मेरे को, क्योंकि जिस बात को इस ऑथर ने फैक्ट बोल दिया है, क्या पता फैक्ट खुद ही फैक्ट ना हो, सब्जेक्टिव फैक्ट हो। डू यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट? सो यू नो व्हाट, मेरा भी एक बिलीफ सिस्टम है फिलोसफिकल, में यहाँ नहीं बताऊंगा, टाइम बहुत कम बचा, कोई बात बताऊंगा। तो एक एक चीज यहाँ पे देखो, वो याद है, वो एक कहावत है, स्पाइडर्स वेब इज फ्लाइज केओस। इट्स अ फैक्ट, राइट? देयर इज अ वेब, देयर इज केओस, इट्स फैक्ट फॉर बोथ। मकड़ी के लिए जाल था, और मक्खी के लिए एक पूरा तिलिस्म था, राइट? One man's revolutionary is another man's terrorist. So both are facts. For other man, it's a terrorist. For us, it might be revolutionary. So अगर ये बात सच हो गई ना, तो पूरा पूरा खराब हो जाएगा। तो आई थिंक वी डोंट नीड टू रीड अदर ऑप्शंस, बट इन केस यू वांट टू रीड, a fact by its very nature is objective universal, ये तो सब स्ट्रेंथन कर रहा है। order means the series of facts presented does not have any bearing on production of meaning, ये सब बातें बोली गई, ठीक है। बी, not to think much about it. Coming to the next one. If the author of the passage were to write a book on the Battle of Hastings along the lines of his or her own reasoning, the focus on the of the historical account would be on. अच्छा सवाल है ये। देखो, ऑथर का जिसने ये पैसेज लिखा है, उसका मानना ये है कि जब तक हिस्टोरियन ना बोले फैक्ट्स के बारे में, फैक्ट्स खुद से कुछ नहीं बात करते। ओके, तो फैक्ट्स स्पीक ओनली व्हेन हिस्टोरियंस वांट देम टू स्पीक। Okay, so the historians have, if they regard Battle of Hastings as an important event, important historical event, okay, and he or she is interested to know about it, then we will also be somehow will be interested to read or know about it, isn't it? Right? So देखते हैं, पहला बोल रहा है deriving historical facts from the relevant documents and inscriptions, not really। ऐसा ऑथर का मानना नहीं है, इसको तो हम, ये तो ऐसा ऑथर ये नहीं लिखेगा। Providing a nuanced interpretation by relying on the auxiliary sciences might be true. Exploring the socio-political economic factors that led to the battle might be true. Producing a detailed timeline of the various events that led to the battle, not really, because जो historian को लगेगा वही बात है ना? अच्छा, providing a nuanced interpretation by relying on the auxiliary sciences, यहाँ भी क्या है कि हिस्टोरियन के हाथ में पावर है ना, कि वो अगर जो ऑक्सिलरी साइंसेस लाइक न्यूमिस्मेटिक्स, आर्कियोलॉजी, एपिग्राफी, क्रोनोलॉजी वगैरह है, उसके थ्रू वो न्यूएंस्ड इंटरप्रिटेशन देगा क्या? नहीं देगा, नहीं देगा। थर्ड इज करेक्ट। व्हाई? बिकॉज if a historian wants, if historian wants to, give something importance, the importance would be given through socio-political and economic factors that led to the battle। वो कब हुआ, क्यों हुआ, किसने किया, अम, खुदाई हुई थी, उसके बाद उसमें सिक्के मिले थे, ये सब बातें वो नहीं करेगा। हिस्टोरियन को अगर कोई चीज बतानी है, प्रूव करने की कि ये इंपॉर्टेंट है, तो वो सोशियो पॉलिटिकल इकोनॉमिक फैक्टर ज्यादा ध्यान देगा, ना कि ऑक्सिलरी साइंसेस और बाकी सब चीजों पे। ओके, सो ऑल्सो ऑथर ने बोला है कि ऑक्सिलरी साइंस ऑफ हिस्ट्री इज अ नेसेसरी कंडीशन, ओके, बट नॉट द एसेंशियल फंक्शन, राइट? व्हाई नॉट डी? डिटेल टाइमलाइन क्यों देगा यार वो? डिटेल टाइमलाइन नहीं रहा उन तो। डिटेल टाइमलाइन तो बहुत ज्यादा ऑब्जेक्टिव चीज है ना, ऑब्जेक्टिव फैक्ट्स हो गए, ऑब्जेक्टिव फैक्ट्स हो गए ना वो। ऐसा कोई भी फैक्ट नहीं देगा वो ऑथर जो कि ऑब्जेक्टिव ज्यादा हो, वही फैक्ट देगा जो ज्यादा सब्जेक्टिव हो। जैसे कि सोशियो पॉलिटिकल इकोनॉमिक फैक्टर, सोशियो पॉलिटिकल फैक्टर्स कैसे होते हैं? सब्जेक्टिव भी हो सकते हैं, है ना? जैसे बताया मैंने कि वन मैन रिवोल्यूशनरी अदर मैन टेररिस्ट, इजंट इट? सेम वे। नेक्स्ट, which of the following describes the significance of archaeology for historian? Significance of archaeology for historian, क्या करेगा, क्या करता है आर्कियोलॉजी? अकॉर्डिंग टू द पैसेज। इसमें लिखा हुआ है, देखते हैं यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है, क्या लिखा है। Historian is entitled to rely on what have been called the auxiliary science of history or archaeology. So, okay. It is a necessary condition of his work, but not his essential function. Precisely for matters of this kind, the historian is entitled to do this. Okay. So basically, whenever he has to go for objective facts, that is where archaeology will come into play. Objective facts. पहला है, आर्कियोलॉजी हेल्प्स हिस्टोरियंस टू कैरी देयर आउट देयर प्राइमरी ड्यूटी। ऑब्जेक्टिव फैक्ट्स है नहीं यहाँ पे, उसकी ड्यूटी प्राइमरी क्या है ये पता ही नहीं है। आर्कियोलॉजी हेल्प्स हिस्टोरियंस टू इंटरप्रेट हिस्टोरिकल फैक्ट्स। Archaeology helps historians to ascertain factual accuracy. Wow, this is more objective. So whatever is objective is the choice, correct choice. Archaeology helps historians to locate the oldest civilizations in history. नहीं, factual accuracy जो है ये है objective truth है, तो इसको हम mark कर देंगे। यही काम जो बाकी auxiliary science of history है वो करेंगे। Is that clear, everyone? Coming to the next one. All of the following describe the common sense view of history except what? Common sense view. Okay. कॉमन सेंस व्यू क्या है? पॉजिटिविस्ट व्यू है ना, वही तो पॉजिटिविस्ट व्यू है। दैट पॉजिटिविस्ट व्यू दैट फैक्ट्स जो होने चाहिए वही कॉमन सेंस है। फैक्ट्स अवेलेबल हैं हिस्टोरियंस के पास डॉक्यूमेंट्स के लिए, ऑल दैट स्टफ। सो इफ हिस्ट्री इज साइंस, इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द फैक्ट्स। बट जो ऑथर है वो इस व्यू के अगेंस्ट है, ठीक है ना। ऑथर मानता है कि जो ये हिस्ट्री है दैट इज बेसिकली सिलेक्टिव, इट इज गॉट अ बायस फ्रॉम द हिस्टोरियंस, इजंट इट? लेट्स सी। हिस्ट्री इज लाइक साइंस सिलेक्टिव सिस्टम ऑफ मोटिव्स। नहीं, यही तो पूरा ऑथर बोलना चाह रहा है कि पॉजिटिविस्ट जो बातें बोल रहे हैं बेकार की बातें बोल रहे हैं, ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता। हिस्टोरियन चाहे तो कुछ भी कर सकता है, वो चीज चेंज कर देगा। सो ए इज ट्रू, आई डोंट नीड टू इवन रीड द अदर ऑप्शंस। इज दैट क्लियर? द ऑथर इज टोटली अगेंस्ट द, टोटली अगेंस्ट तो थोड़ा बड़ा टर्म हो जाएगा। ऑथर इज नॉट इन फेवर ऑफ पॉजिटिविस्ट आइडियोलॉजी। ऑथर सेज हिस्ट्री इज नॉट अ साइंस, दैट्स इट। ओके, क्लियर? बाय writing beating around the bush in most of the cases, author is essentially saying not beating around the bush, that is how a thing is written, but information is simple। इस पूरे पैसेज को मैं सिर्फ एक लाइन में खत्म कर सकता हूँ। लाइन ये है, positivists think history is science because it relies on facts and figures, while the author of this passage says the facts are selectively presented by the historian। ये है इस पूरे पैसेज की एक एग्जैक्ट समरी। थोड़ा क्वेश्चन था कि यार थोड़ी ना मेरे को, यार मैं क्या रोबोट थोड़ी ना हूँ। फिर से क्वेश्चन बोल दो। अब इस तरह टाइम निकलेगा, मैं पहले जाऊं पीछे ढूंढूं कहाँ पे लिखा है, ये लिखा है ग्रैंडफादर क्लॉक एटॉमिक क्लॉक कंपेयर किया है, उसमें वही आंसर होगा ना, क्योंकि लिखा है कि डिफरेंस है, उनमें ऑप्शन से नो डिफरेंस। हाँ तो क्या लिखा है इसमें? isn't more precise, डिफरेंस नहीं है ना, ज्यादा प्रिसाइज नहीं है। ठीक तो है, डिफरेंस नहीं है। तुम मुझसे ज्यादा अच्छी नहीं हो दिशिता, इसका मतलब हम में डिफरेंस नहीं है। राइट, गॉट इट। कई बार होता है कि अगेन वही बात है, हिस्टोरियन वाली बात हो गई कि हम कुछ चीज़ों को ज़्यादा हाईलाइट करना चाहते हैं, ये ज़्यादा तूल दे देते हैं उन बातों को, थी नहीं वहाँ पे। इजेंट मोर प्रेसाइज मतलब क्या है? दे आर सेम, इसका थोड़ा दो डिफरेंट है। ओके, टाइम स्टार्ट्स हियर, आई विल शो द क्वेश्चंस फर्स्ट वन बाय वन। यही तो सही बात है। Shrimani, okay, I'll look at it again. Your message reached late to me. I can see so many people are watching, but nobody's liking the stream. कुछ like वाइक कर दो यार. Okay, let's go to the passage now. Here we are. All right, here we have the questions. Next. All right. Done, everyone? Do you want me to show any question? Let's read it. The questions are, according to the Romantics, aesthetics, पहला है, is widely considered to be irrelevant to human existence. Irrelevant. Second, permeates all aspects of human life, philosophical and mundane, should be confined to a specific domain separate from practical and theoretical aspects of life. Is primarily the concern of philosophers and artists rather than of ordinary people. ठीक है, चार ऑप्शन बिल्कुल अलग अलग हैं. It will be easy for us to answer this. Next one. Which one of the following statements is not supported by the passage? तो मैं पढ़ लूंगा तीनों, जो तीन सपोर्ट में आ जाएंगे, बाद में देख लेंगे इसको, है ना. We don't need to read the options here. The main difficulty in studying Romanticism is the absence of written accounts by romantic poets and artists, elusive, suggestive nature of romantic aesthetics. Okay. Controversial and scandalous history of romantic literature, lack of clear conceptual contours of the domain. ठीक है, आगे देखते हैं. According to the passage, recent studies on romanticism avoid a single definition, a specific time or a specific place because they, इसको हम क्वेश्चन पढ़ने के बाद ही समझ पाएंगे. चलो आगे. Let's read the passage now. Understanding romantic aesthetics is not a simple undertaking for reasons that are internal to nature of subject. ठीक है. Understanding not nature of subject. Distinguished scholars such as Arthur Lovejoy, ये सब जरूरी नहीं है, have remarked on notorious challenges facing any attempt to define romanticism. Basically बोलना चाह रहे कि define नहीं कर सकते. Lovejoy, for example, claimed that romanticism is the scandal of literary history and criticism. The main difficulty in studying the romantics, according to him, is the lack of any single real entity or type of entity that the concept romanticism designates. Lovejoy concluded, क्या नाम है, Lovejoy, Arthur Lovejoy. The word romantic has come to mean so many things that by itself it means nothing. Okay. Okay. The more specific task of characterizing romantic aesthetics adds to these difficulties an air of paradox. Conventionally, aesthetics refers to a theory concerning beauty and an art of the branch of philosophy that studies these topics. However, many of the romantics rejected the identification of aesthetics with a circumscribed domain of human life that is separated from the practical and theoretical domains of life. ठीक है ठीक है. The most characteristic romantic commitment is to be the idea that the character of art and beauty and of engagement with them should shape all aspects of human life. Being fundamental to human existence, beauty and art should be a central ingredient not only in philosophical or artistic life but also in the lives of ordinary men and women. कुछ ऐसा था यहाँ पे. हम्म. देखो, जो पहला वाला स्टेटमेंट है ना, पहला वाला क्वेश्चन है, उसमें जो लास्ट वाला ऑप्शन है वो गलत हो गया. राइट. ये बात समझ आ रही है? लास्ट ऑप्शन क्या बोल रहा है इसमें? प्राइमरली कंसर्न ऑफ फिलोसफर्स नहीं, वो ऑर्डिनरी लोगों का भी है, ऐसा यहाँ पे क्लियर हो गया है. इजंट इट? अच्छा, ठीक है. तो यहाँ मैं डी को तो पहले मैं एलिमिनेट कर देता हूँ तुरंत, है ना. लेट्स एलिमिनेट डी. ओके. शुड बी confined टू a specific domain separate from practical theoretical aspects of life. नहीं, ये अब ऑर्डिनरी पीपल तक जा रहा है, ह्यूमन आर्ट कल्चर सब में है, तो बेसिकली इट्स नॉट बी confined. Widely considered irrelevant, not really. So B is correct. Simple, right? B is the only answer. Exactly. Got it. चलो, कुछ और भी आंसर कर सकते हैं क्या हम इसमें? नहीं. नॉट सपोर्ट बाय पैसेज. नहीं. ओके ओके ओके. चलो ठीक है, आगे बढ़ते हैं. Nevertheless, in spite of these challenges, यहाँ कुछ बच गया है. Another challenge for any attempt to characterize romantic aesthetics lies in the fact that most of the romantics were poets and artists whose views of art and beauty are, for the most part, be found not in developed theoretical accounts but in fragments, aphorisms, and poems, which are often more elusive and suggestive than conclusive. Nevertheless, in spite of these challenges, the task of characterizing romantic aesthetics is neither impossible nor undesirable, as numerous thinkers responding to Lovejoy's radical skepticism have noted. While warning against the reductive definition of romanticism, Berlin, for example, still heralded the need for general characterization. ठीक है. ये आपस में जो बातें इनकी हो रही हैं वो बातें हैं, हमें जरूरत नहीं पड़ने की ये वाली. Recent attempts to characterize romanticism and to stress its contemporary relevance follow its path. This path, instead of overlooking the undeniable differences between the variety of romanticisms of different nations that Lovejoy had stressed, such studies attempt to characterize romanticism not in terms of a single definition, a specific time, or a specific place, in terms of particular philosophical questions and concerns. All right. Well, the German, British, French romantics are all considered. The central protagonists in the following are the German romantics. Two reasons explain this focus. First, because it has paved the way for the other romanticisms. German romanticism has a pride of place among the different national romanticisms. इसमें डायरेक्टली क्वेश्चन नहीं है, पर बाकी क्वेश्चन में ऑप्शन में क्या पता आ जाए, है ना. Second, the aesthetic outlook that was developed in Germany, roughly between this and this, the period that corresponds to the heyday of what is known as early Romanticism, offers the most philosophical expression of Romanticism since it's grounded primarily in the epistemological, metaphysical, ethical, and political concerns that the German Romantics discerned in the aftermath of Kant's philosophy. Okay, ठीक है. बहुत इन्फॉर्मेशन नहीं है इस पैसेज के अंदर, बार बार एक ही बात बोली गई है, कुछ आगे पढ़ नहीं रहा है ना. बस अल्टीमेटली बात यही है कि कुछ भी कर लो, रोमांट इसको आप एक्सप्लेन नहीं कर पाओगे. बस यही है मेन, है ना. Which of the following has not is not supported in the passage? ठीक है. We have read the entire passage. Let's see. Recent studies on romanticism seek to refute the differences between national romanticisms. बस यही है. यही तो है. देखो. Recent attempts to characterize romanticism And to stress its contemporary relevance, follow its path instead of overlooking the undeniable differences. Mm, such studies attempt to characterize romanticism not in single definition. ठीक है, ये सपोर्ट नहीं किया गया है. Instead of overlooking. First, clear. I don't even need to read others, right? Or do I? I don't need to. Next, the main difficulty in studying romanticism is what? एक बात क्लियर है कि भाई इसका आंसर कभी आ ही नहीं रहा है ना, कुछ भी कर लो अल्टीमेटली समझ में आ ही नहीं रहा. वही हमारा आंसर होगा. लेट्स सी. एब्सेंस ऑफ रिटन अकाउंट्स, एलरिज्यूस हिस्ट्री नेचर रोमांटिक एस्थेटिक्स, कंट्रोवर्शियल स्कैंडल्स हिस्ट्री ऑफ रोमांटिक लिटरेचर. पहले दूसरे ठीक लग रहे हैं, तीसरा तो नहीं. आउट ऑफ कॉन्टेक्स्ट, लैक ऑफ क्लियर कॉन्सेप्चुअल कॉन्टूर्स. ये बिल्कुल सही है, बी. पहले दोनों क्लोज कॉल्स हैं, बट डी इज टोटली करेक्ट. कमिंग टू नेक्स्ट वन. According to the passage, recent studies in romanticism avoid a single definition specific time. Why? यहाँ पे एक बात बोली गई है. बर्लिन ने कुछ बोला था. बर्लिन, वेयर इज दैट? बर्लिन वाला कहाँ चला गया? था ना बर्लिन. वेयर इज बर्लिन? जनरल करेक्टराइजेशन की बात करी थी. वेयर इज दैट? लास्ट पैराग्राफ में था ना बर्लिन वाला. ये देखो. अटेम्प्ट टू करेक्टराइज. वेयर इज दैट? दैट गाय बर्लिन सेड समथिंग. Berlin for okay. While warning against the reductive definition of romanticism, Berlin, for example, still heralded the need for a general characterization. General characterization. D is correct. तो क्या प्रॉब्लम आ रही है? यही आ रही है कि बिकॉज दे प्रेफर टू फोकस ऑन द फंडामेंटल कंसर्न्स ऑफ द romantics. All right, that is where we get the exact answer. ठीक है, clear. Fundamental concerns of romantics. Who is this guy? Marcus Aurelius. What stands in the way becomes the way. Cat है आपका वे अभी, है ना? Cat is standing in the way and cat is the way. Okay. So next passage is on. Do you realize? Do you know this guy? Read about him? Heard about him? He's a Stoic. So Stoicism is a belief. The next is on that. Stoic. Great thought process. Let's go there. So I'll start the time now. Questions first. 30 seconds each. गौरव, तुम्हें पता है कि तुम्हें एनर्जी फील कब होगी? कल दोपहर के बाद से तुम्हें इतना अच्छा फील करोगे कुछ कहने को नहीं. Dipshita will do that tomorrow. Next. Next. Let's go to the question, the passage now. Ipshita, they have marked on the poll, but slot is yours. इप्शिता अपलोडेड नहीं किया मैंने, बोला था कल कराऊंगा इसको, अभी बोला था मैंने, अपलोड नहीं किया है अभी। Here are the questions. अभी अब विजिबल है? नेक्स्ट। डन। ओके। All right, let's read the passage now. Stoicism दिख रहा है clearly? अब दिख रहा है। Stoicism was founded in 300 BC by the Greek philosopher Zeno and survived in the Roman era until about 8300. According to the Stoics, emotions consist of two movements. यहाँ से शुरू होगा असली चीज है ना, यहाँ से। First movement is the immediate feeling and other actions. For example, physiological response that occur when a stimulus or event occurs. For instance, consider what could have happened if an army general accused Marcus Aurelius of treason in front of other officers. The first movement for Marcus may have been surprise, internal surprise, and anger in response to this insult, accompanied by perhaps by some involuntary physiological and expressive responses, as face flushing and a movement of the eyebrows. All right. The second movement is what one does next about the emotion. Second movement behaviors occur after thinking under one's control. Examples of second movements for Marcus might have included a plot to seek revenge, action signifying deference and appeasement, perhaps proceeding as he would have proceeded, or whether he or not this event occurred. Continuing to lead the Romans in a way that Marcus Aurelius believed best benefited in them. In the Stoic view, choosing a reasoned, unemotional response as the second movement is the only appropriate response. समझ गए बात को? मतलब ठीक है, ये इसके हम आंसर निकालना चाहते हैं, बट कितनी बड़े ज्ञान की बात भी बोल दी ना इन्होंने। राइट। तो अल्टीमेटली दो ही रिस्पॉन्स होंगे। एक गुस्से में पैशनेट होके आपने उल्टा मार दिया, गाली कर दिया, ऐसा कुछ कर दिया। दूसरा है कि सोच समझ के बाद में ना, रिवेंज इज अ डिश बेस्ट सर्व कोल्ड, वैसी बात सोच के और बाद में किया जो भी कांड करना है। गेटिंग इट? द स्टोइक्स believe that to live the good life and be a good person, we need to free ourselves of nearly all desires, such as too much desire for money, power, or sexual gratification. Prior to second movements, we can consider what is important in life. Money, power, and excessive sexual gratification are not important. Character, rationality, and kindness are important. The Epicureans, first associated with the Greek philosopher Epicurus, held a similar view, believing that people should enjoy simple pleasures such as good conversation, friendship, food, and wine, but not be indulgent in these pursuits and not follow passion for those things that hold no real value like power and money. As Oatley states, the Epicureans articulated a view, enjoyment of relationship with friends, of things that are real rather than illusory, simple rather than artificially inflated, possible rather than vanishingly unlikely, that is certainly relevant today. In some, these ancient Greek and Roman philosophers saw emotions, especially strong ones, as potentially dangerous. They viewed emotions as experiences that needed to be reined in and controlled. As Oatley points out, the Stoic idea bears some similarity to Buddhism. Buddha, living in India in the 6th century BC, argued for cultivating a certain attitude that decreases the probability of, in Stoic terms, destructive second movements. Through meditation and right attitude, one allows emotions to happen to oneself. It is possible to prevent this, but one is advised to observe the emotions without necessarily acting on them. One achieves some distance and decides what has value, what does not have value. Additionally, the Stoic idea of developing virtue in oneself, of becoming a good person, which the Stoics believed we could do only because we touch of the divine, laid the foundation for the three monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. As in Stoicism, tenets of these religions include controlling our emotions lest we engage in sinful behavior. All right. Wow. ठीक है चलो let's see Bella Bella. On the basis of passage, which the following statements can be regarded as true? Let's see. Epicureans believed in controlling all emotions. All emotions? Not clearly. All is the extreme word. We can eliminate that. There were no Stoics in India at the time of Roman civilization. Is that mentioned? क्या इस बारे में पता ही नहीं है कुछ पता है क्या नहीं उससे पहले बुद्धा थे चलो इसको मिटा देते हैं Stoic influences can be seen in multiple religions. Yes, that's right. Clearly mentioned तीन में है. Well, rise the pursuit, not really. ठीक है. Next. Which one of the following statements, if false, could be seen as contradicting the facts or argument in the passage? If false. All right. In the Epicurean view, indulging in simple pleasures is not desirable. ये तो ठीक है ना? They should enjoy. ठीक है तो ये तो नहीं है ये वो है ना could be seen contradicting the facts or arguments in the passage seen contradicting okay not desirable it's desirable actually so first is correct that's it कुछ आई पढ़ना ही नहीं है next बहुत easy नहीं हो गया ये through meditation and the right attitude one allows emotions to happen to oneself but one is advised to observe the emotions without necessarily acting on them in the context of passage which one of the following is not a possible implication of the quoted statement ठीक है हमें करना वो चाहिए दूर से देखना चाहिए किसकी वैल्यू है किसकी वैल्यू नहीं है ये देखना चाहिए सो लेट्स चेक इट आउट नॉट अ पॉसिबल इम्प्लीकेशन पॉसिबल है उनको हमें देखना है फर्स्ट सेज मेडिटेशन अलाउज सर्टेन आउट ऑफ बॉडी एक्सपीरियंसेस दैट परमिट अस टू गेन द distance necessary to control our emotions out of body experiences ये क्या है distancing ourselves from emotions is different thing it doesn't mean that you have to go out of body meditation is one thing meditation is kind of can control. Okay. Two says emotional responses can make it difficult to distinguish valuable experiences from valueless experiences. Observation of emotions in a distant manner corresponds to the second movement referred to. ठीक है ये सब सही है. Meditation right attitude in this सही है. So one is there which is not employed, not a possible implication. Out of body experience in altogether different kind of zone, different domain. सार्थ क्या हुआ? पिछला वाला अच्छा. Epicurean view है क्या? People should enjoy simple pleasures. This is good conversation. हाँ ठीक है ना इफ फॉल्स सही तो है इफ फॉल्स है यहाँ नॉट है टू नेगेटिव्स मेक अ पॉजिटिव तो ठीक तो है साथ नॉट बी इंटेलिजेंट है ना। अरे तुम्हें एंजॉय करना चाहिए, इंडल्ज नहीं करना चाहिए। क्या हो गया? ओके सर, it says that you should enjoy simple pleasures but not be indulgent in these pursuits. ऐसा नहीं कि इसी में पूरा पूरा घुस जाओ कि दोस्ती यारी शराब ये सब नहीं करना चाहिए ना लगातार। ऑलराइट, क्लियर? Which one of the following statements would be an accurate inference from the example of Marcus Aurelius? Marcus humiliated by the acquisition of treasure, नहीं, ये बोला था कि अगर किया होता तो क्या होता, तो ये नॉट एक्यूरेट। ही वॉज वन ऑफ द लीडर्स ऑफ रोमन आर्मी, ये तो एक्यूरेट है। सिंपल। दिशिता समझ में आ गया? इंडल्जेंस की बात हो रही थी, ठीक है ना। अब इंडल्ज करना एंजॉय करने में अंतर होता है। लाइक आई एंजॉय हैविंग वाइन, आई एम इंडल्जेंट, आई इंडल्ज माई सेल्फ इन वाइन। दो अलग बातें नहीं है। रोमन आर्मी वो स्टोइक थे, कंफर्म नहीं है। प्लॉटेड रिवेंज, ये भी अगर वो करते तो क्या होता। प्लॉटेड ये सब वो थे, पॉसिबिलिटीज थी, ये हुआ नहीं था फॉर ए और डी। और जो थर्ड है वो स्टोइक थे कि नहीं, इट्स नॉट आउटराइटली मेंशन, बट ये है कि वन ऑफ लीडर्स ऑफ द रोमन आर्मी, ये तो कंफर्म है। आई लव दिस वर्ड ओह। You always own the option of having no opinion. There is never any need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you can't control. ये मार्कस ऑरेलियस ने कहा था। लर्निंग फॉर यू गाइस। क्या ये वाला थोड़ा मुश्किल था क्या, ये आसान था? Okay, how many of you are still watching it? Tell me, be quick. Marcus is a cool guy, obviously. That is why I gave two um, statements, two what do you say, examples of quotes of his. We have done 6 passages in 2 hours. Wow, that was really fast, isn't it? Yeah, got up. नेक्स्ट करे। 5 किए, 6 किए हैं? अभी 5 किए हैं। अच्छा, ठीक है, फिर भी अच्छा है। चलो, लेट्स स्टार्ट दिस वन। या कुछ और करें अभी? जस्ट अ मोमेंट, माय डैड इज कॉलिंग मी। ऑलराइट, व्हाट्स द टाइम? इट्स 1:30। What do we have to do in the evening? What was the plan? What was the plan? हमें कुछ तो करना है, या तो हमें लाड़ी की सेट्स करें पीवाईक्यूज आज रात 7 बजे वाली क्लास में, या फिर मैं ऐसा कुछ करूं कि अम, मैं एक क्वांट की चीट शीट बनाऊं, चीट शीट, जितने टाइप के सवाल आ सकते हैं, चाहे वो अलजेब्रा हो, ज्योमेट्री हो, अरिथमेटिक हो, उन सारे सवाल में चीट शीट टाइप का माइक्रो कॉन्सेप्ट क्या होगा, क्या हमें करना चाहिए, वो बता दूं। मल्टीपल थिंग्स वी कैन डू, राइट? तो डी आई एल आर पी वाई क्यू, बस देखो पता है क्या होता है डी आई एल आर में? इट्स अ लॉन्ग थिंग, सो एसेंशियली यू विल बी सॉल्विंग फॉर 10 minutes, I'll be solving for 10 minutes. When I explain, I'll take 10 minutes more, 30 minutes for one DILR set. Probably if you do it on your own, और एक बात और है कि बहुत से लोग ऐसे ने पहले से कर रखा होगा। एक मिनट, लेट मी स्विच ऑन माय कैमरा फॉर दिस। बहुत लोगों ने बहुत कुछ पहले से कर भी लिया होगा इसमें। पीवाईक्यूज कहाँ के किए हैं, कहाँ के नहीं किए हैं। ऑलराइट, hey, so okay, so we don't really know that what has to be started, what has to be done। LRDI अगर तुमने खुद ही कर लिया है तो that's not, see, I won't be adding much value to it right now। um, the value will be added if only if I have a lot of time for it with you guys, that how do you look at the um, micro things, the things which are not mentioned or outrightly cleared, so those things can tell if I have a lot of time, but CAD is day after tomorrow. So maybe I'll just solve the LRDA set, which you will see. And if there's something which I will be doing, something which probably you might not be able to do, is maybe I'll calculate faster if there's a DI set, or maybe I'll be looking at things faster, which I won't be able to convey properly. See, that is the thing. Moreover, you guys have already done, I think you already done the PYQs, yes or no? Hmm? You can do that on your own. क्या लगता है? Tell me. मतलब it's just I'm democratizing it. You guys tell me. Only Avi and Sarth and Shubham and Gaurav are talking. Others, Shibani, Dramatic Dizzy, Dishita। हाँ, बट चीट शीट क्या है कि इसका अभी भी यूज हो सकता है, कि मतलब आज अगर ये आज या कल, या आज शाम को आधा करे, कल पूरा करे, ऐसा कुछ करे, तो प्रोबेबली दिस विल बी यूजफुल, बिकॉज दिस इज गोइंग टू बी इमीडिएटली यूजफुल। इमीडिएटली यूटिलिटीज की आ जाएगी कि परसों तुम्हें काम आ जाएगा वो। डिपेंड करता है, बताओ क्या करना चाहिए। अदर्स ऑल्सो cheat sheet है ना, because that can be used। LRDA class is obviously it's useful, but I don't think it'll be useful now। ऐसा कुछ नया नहीं हो जाएगा LRDI में जो मैं आज करूँ और तुम्हें परसों काम आ जाए, है ना? क्वांट में आ सकता है कि कोई DI सेट आ गया, जल्दी कर लो। दैट्स अ पॉसिबिलिटी। All right, there's so many people watching, only few talking। Cool then, let's do that। And before doing that, I think there are more passages that I have over here। See, there are total of how many? Okay, not more. It's like one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Only two passages more are left. Okay, so maybe I'll come live in a while। और कल रात के तुम्हें याद है बहुत सारे पैरा जम्बल्स बचे हुए थे, वो भी चीज़ है। तो या तो मैं अभी बीच में एक बार शाम को आ जाऊँ, मतलब टाइम इज 1:40, maybe I come live again at 3:30 with the remaining questions of VA and two passages of RC। That is one way of doing it। और शाम को जो हम कर रहे हैं वो तो करेंगे करेंगे, isn't it? If you guys don't have any plan to revise things, yeah, Shilbani, that is why I'm asking, what if At 3:30, I come again, solve these two passages and give some advice on how to approach the passages like Sharbani is asking. And remaining para jumbles, है ना, वो कर लेते हैं कि पैरा जम्बल्स बहुत ही यूजफुल है यूपीए का। पैरा समरीज के क्वेश्चन कुछ बचे में वो कर लें। राइट। एनिमेशन पैकेज थंब का, व्हाट वाज दैट? इज दैट समथिंग? आई डोंट रियली नो। ओके, लेट मी सी। वेल, सो पैरा जम्बल हो गए थे, पैरा समरी बचे थे, हाँ ठीक है, पैरा समरी बचे थे वो, और ऑड वन आउट थोड़े बचे हुए थे, तो वो कर लें 3:30 बजे से लेके। या टिल देन यू कैन डू LRDA, दैट लुक्स गुड। और जो चीट शीट वाला प्लान है, फिर 7 बजे थोड़ा सा लेट करेंगे, वी वोंट डू दैट एट 7, नो दैट्स नॉट अ ग्रेट आइडिया। ओके, एंड टुमारो we're doing what? We're doing entire formula revision, so that this thing, the quant formula sheet, who was asking for that? Someone was asking. Ipshita, you there, Ipshita? So we'll be doing that tomorrow. I'll start it from evening itself. Thumb up मैंने किया है. Okay, let's see. Even I want to see that. Alright then, that's all. We'll see each other at 3:30. ठीक है. Oh yes, now I saw that. Acha, yes, yes, yes. It's good, man. Wow. There are more animations also. Something like that. Acha, I installed a plugin and now remembered some days back. So maybe that is the reason. Okay then. Chalo, bye. I'll see you at 3:30. I'll just send this thing link on the WhatsApp group. Okay. Chalo, take care.